Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and for the last week I've been driving the 2025 Toyota Corolla FX. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4, and down below is a CVT. Now I am super excited to be making this video for two reasons. First of all, I think the Corolla is a pretty good value product, but the second reason is that this is sort of a throwback trim level, and I might be one of the only YouTubers to review this vehicle who has driven the original Corolla FX16 that this trim level is referencing. So back in the late 1980s, Toyota offered the Toyota Corolla FX16. That was a little hatchback with the 4AGE 4-cylinder and a 5-speed manual transmission. It was very buzzy, it was very fun. This is a throwback to that vehicle. So when they did the press release, they had one of their heritage FX16s for the photo shoot, and I've driven now both of the FXs, and I'm excited to share them with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2-liter inline 4. Well, it's bigger and makes more horsepower than the original FX16, and it is a non-hybrid. That is going to be a huge selling point for this vehicle. The fact that it isn't a hybrid means that it is going to be a lot more reliable. Now, I do love Toyota's hybrid system, and as far as hybrid systems go, it is a reliable system. However, every single battery has a lifespan, and so you'll probably have to swap it out at some point in its 300,000 mile life. You don't have to worry about that here. It's going to keep it simple, and it's going to keep the cost down. Like I said, paired to it is a CVT. Now, this is a big letdown because it's just not great. It will fake shift, kinda. It's not good. The Corolla is only offered with a manual transmission at the very tippy top with the GR Corolla. I think this would have been a great opportunity for Toyota to reintroduce a budget manual option for the Corolla. However, so far they have not done that. Last but not least, of course, the FX Corolla is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive the Corolla FX? It's fine. It does have sport suspension, so it does get lowered slightly from the more standard Corolla, and it rides a little bit stiffer for better cornering and things like that, but honestly, I don't notice a difference. It rides fine. It rides like an economy car. The CVT, I think, really restrains that 2-liter, unfortunately, and overall, the driving experience is just semi-forgettable. It's not terrible, but at least a terrible driving experience would be more memorable. I honestly don't feel either way about this. It's a very neutral driving experience. Visibility is fine. I like the little size of the Corolla as well, so I guess it gets some merit points for that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have digital and physical gauges. So I have physical gauges for the coolant temperature and fuel, but then a digital screen in the center. This is okay. It's a little cluttered, quite a bit to look at some times. However, not the end of the world. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as phone options, volume, and voice commands. And off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise control and skip track. To the left, we have a climate control vent. We have our gauge dimmer switch and automatic high beams, along with a bunch of dead switches. Moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do get a new infotainment display. So this is last year's display. As you can see, it's a little bit smaller. However, it actually has a physical volume knob. They have gotten rid of the physical volume knob, and now it's just buttons. I much prefer the knob. I don't really like these buttons. It's kind of annoying because there's no volume knob anywhere in the car anymore. So if you want to turn up the volume, you're going to be hitting a button many times. However, this does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I think it's relatively easy to use. The bigger screen is nicer. It's a little bit easier to see. And here is the backup camera in case you were curious. Down below, we have 2 climate vents with the hazard switch and the climate controls single zone climate here in the FX. However, we do have auto climate and we have heated mirrors along with rear defrost, so definitely nice to see all of that. Then we do get a wireless wireless charger and a USB-C port, and the shifter. So right in front of the shifter, we do have our drive mode select for sport, normal, and eco, and then our traction control off button, and then we have the shifter itself. Shifter's fine. This is the same shifter that you'll find in pretty much any other Corolla, and again, I wish they would have pushed this a little bit more, maybe done like a throwback style shifter to what they had in the 80s, but that's okay. Down below, we do have cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and unfortunately, like the other Corollas that we've tested, this unfortunately fails. Then we do have the auto holding brake and power parking brake. And in the center console, we get another USB-C as well as a 12-volt outlet. The seats are nice. They are cloth. They do have some orange stitching to them for the FX. A little bit sportier looking. However, not the sportiest looking I've ever seen. They're fine. They do the job. They've been comfortable enough over the last week and several hundred miles, so I'm not complaining. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2025 Toyota Corolla FX, and a couple of things to note. First of all, my knees are coming close to hitting the seat. If I move a little bit, they won't, but my head is hitting the ceiling. At least my hair is grazing it. I'm 5'11", not a small guy. I do have two USB-Cs back here, which is very nice, and I do get a center console. But overall, a very, very basic back seat. You're not gonna get anything flashy or interesting back here. The window switch doesn't even have any label on it. This, like right here, this handle and switch just feels like it's either AI generated or a stock image where they're not allowed to use logos. So that's kind of the vibe you get from back here. There's no distinguishing factors besides it has some orange stitching, but that's literally it. That is like the only like FX interesting thing to be found back here. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Right around the back of the Corolla FX, single button here in the center, and there you go. Absolutely nothing crazy or wild or unexpected found here in the trunk. It is a standard Corolla trunk. There it is. I don't know what you're expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but that's it. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of this generation of Corolla. For the FX, it does get that little wing and different wheels. I really like the wheels. And overall, I think that this is a very handsome car. However, Toyota PR sent this vehicle out in this dark gray color. I don't love it. This is what the FX can look like, and I think that that is tremendously better. I love the orange paint, the bright white wheels. That truly feels more like a throwback vehicle, as opposed to this just feels like an XSE with an asterisk at the end. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Corolla FX for the last week? Well, I've enjoyed my time with the Corolla. I have two final thoughts, and I think Toyota set out to do two different things with this car, and I think that they achieved one and sort of failed on the other. The way that they failed is with the throwback trim. Sure, it's cool to see the FX name back after a 30-year hiatus, but this mimics 0% of that original car. And while I didn't have an FX16 to compare side by side, I did have this. And it is far and away different than what the Corolla was in the 1980s. No longer rear-wheel drive, no longer offered with a manual, no longer a two-door, no longer sporty. So there's some big differences there. It's not nearly as fun to drive. I think if they threw a manual transmission back into this after they took it away after the Apex trim, I think this would have really been a good throwback car. That 2-liter is buzzy, but it's so restricted by the CVT. So I think with some tweaks, this could have been really good, but it's just kind of forgettable. The way that they succeeded is the fact that this is a sub $30,000 car. Now, albeit a few $100s below $30,000, but it is below $30,000, and I think you get good value for that. You have the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It has a relatively decent interior. It's comfortable enough, and you're gonna have that very reliable 2-liter that gets good fuel economy. I've been averaging 32.5, and that's a lot of city driving. I'm sure on highway driving, it would be even more, and of course, there is that hybrid option, but that's gonna push you above 30,000. So in that respect, as a $30,000 automobile, I think this does really well. And if you're looking for an affordable car that looks good, well, this is a great option for you. It just doesn't really remind me of that car that came before it, the FX16. So good value, yes. Throwback, no. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota for loaning me this vehicle for the last week. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care. I think I accidentally drove down a walking path. All right.